Coming on, you like?
I don't like that bullshit.
He already started.
I don't know why the hell you telling me.
Dennis Sperling. That show, mama, you know what I'm talking about.
Copy him.
Mama, that go, that man, he just talk a lot of shit. He be up late at night, tuning into all his hits. See my grandmama hate him, and my mama and my TD getting mad, posting comments like we watching real TV. Mama, that go, that man, yelling from that nigga, what? He successful attorney on the two, be turning up. We be turning up, we turning up, yeah. We be turning up, yeah, turning up. It's that real spit, like some barbershop talk, except it's real black men that be walking for me up. Intelligent, well versed, sometimes we might curse, well we cuss a lot, just like these lovely ladies fuss a lot. Switch it up, tell these suckers gotta pick it up, move along. Me and you ain't brothers, not the womb I'm on. Cross-examination on in the chat room. All the trolls with the disrespect, we in the back room. Huffing and you sucking up the air like a vacuum. Daddy disappeared, told you baby I'll be back soon. I just represent us cause the system can't afford it. I'm your homie, I'm your brother, sometimes a court appointed. Anointed, know you hate it, but I give you fair chosen. Just like Jesus in the house of God, kicking chairs over. Suit and tie soldier, give the cold shoulder. The hate and you talking, not a fucking stain on me. Watch your dame, homie, I got that change on me. Black rich, I don't give a shit, bet your dame want me. Mama, they go, that man, he just talk a lot of shit. He be up late at night, tuning into all his hits. See my grandmama hate him.
That's my business. You ain't got a goddamn thing to do with it.
And my mama and my TD getting mad, posting comments like we watching real TV. Mama, they go, that man, he talk a lot of shit. He be up late at night, tuning into all his hits. See my grandmama hate him, and my mama and my TD getting mad, posting comments like we watching real TV. Mama, they go, that man. Mama, that go, that man. Mama, that go, that man. Yeah. Mama, that go, that man. Gotta watch your back, even family that's amongst you. Got a slut ass auntie and a cool ass uncle. Kinda won't front you, but let you ride the whip around the block like you stunts. Don't do a lot of bumping. When your mama call when her ex-man jumping, all you see is feet and her ex-man stumping. That's my Uncle D, that's why the Blizzard King coming. Hot girl winter, Blizzard King summer. My we's a coming, no singing and no humming, talking we shall overcome it. Got him leaking, I'm the plumber. My nigga made Zoom look cool, yeah you funny. What else Uncle D gotta prove more money? Overlook the tunes, if gotta shun him. Brotherhood over any woman, cause if she play no role, then she fam, then she good. When we say brother, my sister, we mean the hood. Now homie pop the trunk, it's been reeking just like a skunk. We can serve your knowledge, your ditch it just how you want. He just run his mouth and that bullshit we debunk. In a sunken place, he's thinking that drunk. He don't even drink and I tell you that drunk. My nephew told me I wanna be just like my uncle. He don't even drink and I tell you that drunk. My nephew told me I wanna be just like my uncle. Brand good, suit and tie, lawyer reppin' manhood. He don't tap dance, he overstand, he playing good. Titles don't get it, most of us getting ambushed. Mayonnaise, clam bush, buck broken, man tush. Woke up in the morning, got walk, that's on my mind. Peace can only come when you're low and order divine. I stay entwined, you keep a criminal mind. How you think I shine and stay from falling behind? He got open eyes and can't see it, he blind. You nice all the time, they tell you water is wine. Slaughter all your sons and leave your daughters behind. All she wanna do is flash that big behind. The music is the garbage they use to take you down. You used to rap intelligent, now you rapping like clowns. My prerogative, you thinking like Bobby Brown. Rest in peace to Whitney, Christina, that's underground. Wake up years later, you been around. Water up to your neck and watching you as you drown. How you scoring touchdown again and you out of bounds? All the black men getting passports out of town. Homie pop the trunk, it's been reeking just like a skunk. We get some good knowledge, this is just how you want. He just run his mouth and that shit we debunk. In the tongue and place, he singing that good song. He don't even drink it, I tell you that the drunk. My nephew told me I wanna be just like my uncle. He don't even drink it, I tell you that the drunk. My nephew told me I wanna be just like my uncle. My Uncle D, 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 favorite uncle, Uncle D, my Uncle D, my Uncle D, my Uncle D, favorite uncle, my Uncle D, my Uncle D, my favorite uncle, Blizzard King, Uncle D, Uncle D, Uncle D, my favorite uncle, what? Uncle D, my favorite uncle, my Uncle D. My Uncle D, yeah, Uncle D.
Let's see who got up in here, man. Shout out to all my folks, man, or as they say in the Big Bay Area, all my fellows. Shout out to y'all. Who we got up in here, man? We got Mr. 43TX. We got the Contractor. We got International Quiet Storm. Let me see here, man. We got all my folks in here, man. Shout out to all the members, man. Y'all noticing the videos are starting to disappear? That means you probably better join the membership class if you want to check out all that old stuff, man. That old stuff is being aired out and sent over to the membership class, man. So go ahead and make that happen. I wouldn't want you to miss out on these lessons. So, you guys, I'm sorry, somebody said the mic. Can y'all hear me now? My bad. Can you guys hear me now? Mic check, microphone check, microphone check. 1, 2, what is this? It's 5, and I'm here for business. Can y'all hear me now? Mic check, mic check. Oh, my man, Devin Lockett. Good to see you, man. So let me just do this real quick. So AI is the new thing. AI is big business. And I have an original copy of my book, the manuscript, actually. And the book is probably 600-700 pages. The book is probably 200 to 300 pages a piece, but the actual manuscript itself was separated into 15 chapters. And so I basically plugged them into AI, and I asked AI, like, what would be a better name? You know, if you could sum me up in one word. It said resilience. And then I said, what would be a good title for my books, And it said Forged by Fire, The Resilience of Dennis Sperling. Well, if it was a movie, what would it be called? Unyielding, the Dennis Sperling story, or Trials of the Soul, Shattered Mirrors, Streets to Statues, Rising Above, the Dennis Sperling Chronicle, Reflections in the Struggle, Against All Odds. Man, it even broke a psychological breakdown of me based on my writings. And I mean, it's just dope. It's like, if you really want to know who you are, complex family dynamics, identity struggles, marital issues, legal and ethical issues, emotional turmoil, adverse childhood experiences, professional pressure, urban survival, love and relationships. So it's dope. But then the other thing, most interesting, when I asked it to compare me to other philosophers, it had a clear understanding of who I was like. I hope I get this name right. Friedrich Nietzsche, for his exploration of individual power, self-overcoming, and resilience in the face of adversity. John Paul Sartre, I'm butchering his name. Is it Sartre, Sartre? I'm butchering the name. Reflecting existentialist themes of freedom, choice, and personal responsibility. Ralph Waldo Emerson, James Baldwin, Viktor Frankl, in his search for meaning, especially in difficult circumstances, and his focus on finding purpose in all forms of existence. These thinkers, like Sperling, delved into the complexities of human experience, emphasizing the importance of personal growth, self-awareness, and resilience. I'm really going to have to re-examine my work, because the crazy thing is, when I did it, I just put it down. I was done with it. I did it. I was done with it. But this is what AI had to say about my work. And I just think this is just awesome. You know what I'm saying? Somebody says, saw true. Thank you so much, Glow Hardy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've heard some of these people, never read any of their work. I am not a philosopher. I wasn't a philosophy student. This book is just deep reflection, and it also aligns me. It says that I am a Protestant based on my religious take. It basically says that my religious views and how I use the Bible aligns me with a basically it just says let me read. I'll read it to you guys. I don't want to mess the thought up. Let me see here. It says that without specific details on how Dennis Sperling utilizes the Bible in his book, it's challenging to precisely determine which type of Christianity his use of the Bible aligns. However, if his narrative frequently references biblical themes on resilience, forgiveness, personal growth, it might align more with Protestant Christians. So that's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool, and at the time I began, it was really just going to be a personal diary. I had no intention of publishing it, but it kind of took on a life of its own. But even here, this actually breaks down all of the work. It actually gives a highlight for me. It just basically summarizes each chapter, and it's pretty dope, man. It's pretty dope. If you haven't purchased my books already, I still have books left. I haven't been pushing them because, it's just I got other stuff to do. But if you guys want to purchase the book, hit me up at sperlingdennis@gmail.com. You can always get it on Amazon. I'm going to play with this a little bit more. I just think this AI is really the wave of the future. And I really think you all need to embrace the technology. I really do. I really think that if you weren't up to the AI, I think you need to jump on it. I really think you guys do. If you know what the right questions to ask, you really get a lot of. It's like having a conversation with one of the most intelligent people you know. And I think that's pretty dope, man. I think that's pretty dope. But even in here in the book, Dennis Sperling does not directly comment on Donald Trump. Instead, he discusses the advisors of President George W. Bush, such as Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, and their influence on the decision-making regarding Iraq. Sperling reflects on the potential lasting impact of these decisions of President Bush's legacy and mentions biblical rule related to leadership decision-making suggestion. His approach to evaluating political figures is through a broader lens of historical moral judgment. I'm going to actually upload the latest version because I actually added some more in here. I think that'll be pretty dope. But anyway, welcome to the broadcast, everybody. Shout out to everybody. We got 156 people up in here. And, I want to talk to you guys about something that's very relevant right now. And that is what apparently, what seems to be, hallelujah, is something like a civil war popping up on the border down here. You understand what I'm saying? But you guys who don't know what's going on, I'm going to basically, ask you to Google Texas versus the federal government. And as I look at this, it's getting a little too serious. I'm right down here with it. You understand what I'm talking about? You got Greg Abbott on one side, you got Joe Biden on another side. This thing seems to be heating up, it's getting red hot. And my question is, what in the heck is going on? What happened? How do we get to this point? That's the point. And what's going to happen moving forward? Okay. So, here's the thing. We are witnessing, and I always say this, and I'm going to say this to you guys again. History doesn't repeat itself, but it has echoes. Okay. And when I mean it has echoes, I mean you start seeing stuff over and over again. Same with my books, Rules to Live By. What you're going to find is in the Bible, in the books, and even in your Holy Bible, actually, you will see where incidents that happen in your life are also reflected in the Bible if you look deep enough. Same thing having to do, and shout out to my man, International Quiet Storm. Thank you so much. First person to contribute to the Cash App. Thank you so much. So my thing is, where are we going? Here's a video I want to share with y'all. Hopefully I don't get flagged for it or anything like that. Let me see if I can get this to pull up. It's on the internet, but and you never know. You know what I mean? You never know. You never know. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick for you guys to check out. Let's see if this comes up. Okay, so this is...
Biden is not taking on Texas.
All right, so this is Greg Abbott. All right, let me see if I can speed this up a little bit because I don't want to get, what's the word? I don't want to get lambasted. But basically, this is Greg Abbott. Keep listening. Let's check it out.
Biden is taking on the United States of America.
You hear that? And you guys go like, don't start and stop, Uncle D. We want to hear. Yeah, I know you want to hear, but I don't want to get a strike either.
The Constitution itself is the supreme law of the land.
The president is the one who has taken action.
Let's slide forward here.
Elected for one simple reason, and that's because they are working. Border Patrol says that what Texas has done to secure the border actually makes their job even easier. The only resistance we're facing is coming from Joe Biden.
All right, so you get the point. This is not something that's being done in a clandestine manner. Shout out to, is that the same case about child support with Greg Abbott that has been removed from office? No, man, we talking about border control. We're talking about, you got armed men, both groups, United States citizens, standing on the border, looking across from each other with guns. You see, and what we're witnessing is a standoff reminiscent to the Antebellum period. And for you guys who don't know what Antebellum, that is basically before the war. And when I talk about the war, I'm talking about the Civil War. And it's marked by tensions between state and federal authorities. And in this particular, in this ongoing conflict between the Federal Border Patrol and Texas state officials. And this is following the Supreme Court ruling favoring Biden's administration. The removal, and this is all has to do with the removal of barriers along the Rio Grande River, which the Supreme Court says that, let me be careful with this because I want you to hear it. The Supreme Court says that they can be removed, you see, but it's been met with great resistance by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who claims it's the supreme authority under the state's constitution is under Texas's constitution, you see? And this situation raises a lot of questions. So last week, the Supreme Court authorized the U.S. Border Patrol agents to remove the razor wire installed by the state of Texas. Okay, shout out to my man Trey 34X. So you got one group of people removing the wire and another group of people putting it up, and all of them have guns. And this razor wire is sitting there on the border to prevent these migrants and stuff, and that's a picture of it right there from coming over here, these illegal migrants, you see? Now, Greg Abbott asserts that the Texas constitutional authority, and let me quote, the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. Right? And to delve deeper into this issue, we have to, really dig into what the Constitution says. Okay. Now, in this tense situation, okay, because anytime you got Americans facing off against each other with guns and both sides think they're right, and you got alpha men, on the border, egos can flare, you see? And this could be a problem. And so who really has ultimate authority over the border? Huh? According to the Constitution and established precedents, immigration policy and border control predominantly fall under the federal government's jurisdiction. Yet, it's evident that Governor Abbott is prepared for a confrontation, even if it means taking it back to the Supreme Court. Now, Abbott claimed that he possesses the authority under the U.S. Constitution, and he cited the federal government's failure to protect Texas against what he terms invasion. Y'all type invasion in the chat room, okay? And this is probably one of the most serious broadcasts that I've given in a while, okay? Somebody type invasion in the chat room. Now, is this a valid interpretation of the Constitution? Huh? He points out that the term invasion, as used by the founders in the Constitution, is what we all think invasion is. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what did the founders actually envision? Do you think they envisioned thousands of so-called asylum seekers coming to the southern border? Huh? What I can tell you is that Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution pertains to the state's ability to respond to invasions in the absence of immediate federal action. We can agree on that. Okay? Here's the thing. The question concerns the very foundation of our nation's security and sovereignty. According to our Constitution, it's the explicit duty of the federal government to protect the borders. Yet, it appears that this crucial responsibility is not being fulfilled. I think we all can agree on that, right? Anytime you got 100,000 people coming up through the southern border every month, and the federal agents aren't doing a thing about it, we can all agree that's a problem. Looks like old sleepy Joe Biden is asleep at the wheel. In fact, what we're witnessing in the federal government's failure to effectively manage our borders inadvertently is enabling the influx of individuals who threaten the safety and well-being of our citizens. You got drug cartels. They're operating with impunity. Dangerous drugs are crossing into our territory, leading to loss of American lives. You know that more people have died under fentanyl overdoses in the last 3 years that Biden has been in office than the 3 years before that. We're seeing criminals and terrorists finding their way into our country, literal terrorists. And there's also been instances of human trafficking and other heinous crimes occurring at the borders. And this situation is far from acceptable, according to most Americans, and I would tend to agree. Now, the Supreme Court and the stance of the justices with their recent decision, 5-4 split, seems to imply that Texas, or any other state for that matter, does not have the right to take measures to protect its own borders, suggesting it's solely the job of the federal government. Shout out to my man, Ro. I'll read all these super chats later. But let's consider this hypothetical. Listen to me. Suppose an army of 10 million people, a few of them armed, crossed our borders. If the federal government chooses to allow them to cross, does that mean a state like Texas has no right to call up its National Guard or form a militia to defend itself? Is our Constitution intended to be a self-deletion pact, sacrificing our security in the name of protocol? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that's what our Constitution meant. Our Constitution contains two critical provisions that are pertinent in such a scenario. Article 4, Section 4, it clearly states that the United States shall guarantee every state a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them from invasion upon request. This is an affirmative obligation of our federal government. And additionally, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, while setting limits on what states can do independently, provides a crucial exception for situations where a state is actually invaded. Listen, the truth is, an invasion doesn't necessarily require the invader to be a formal military force. History is replete with examples of invasions, some organized. Shout out to my man Salty Balls, but I appreciate you. But as I was saying, some are organized and others are not. For those of you guys who are familiar with the French Indian Wars, those weren't organized. All the raids along the border during the formation of Texas, those weren't organized. But we used the Buffalo Soldiers and other cavalry to rebuff them nevertheless. An invasion is an invasion, right? Somebody type invasion in the chat room. You're going to learn something tonight. An invasion is an invasion, regardless of the attire or armament of those crossing the border. They are individuals who are not only entering uninvited, but also pose a threat to the established order and rule of law. Given these circumstances, and in light of our Constitution, I firmly believe that the state of Texas or any state facing such invasion has a solid argument in taking the necessary steps and measures to protect its citizens. The safety and security of our people is paramount, and it's incumbent upon the federal government and the state governments to uphold this sacred duty. Now, what does Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution say? Well, briefly, it outlines specific prohibitions and limitations on the powers of the states. Okay? All right? This section is designed to ensure a consistent and united approach to certain critical matters at the national level, thereby maintaining the federal structure and preventing individual states from engaging in actions that could conflict with national interests or international relations. In other words, we don't want these states doing stuff that could get us in an altercation with some other country like Mexico or Spain or something like that. What do we not want them to do? We don't want them signing treaties and alliances and confederations. And that's why a state can't enter into a treaty or an alliance or a confederation. And this authority is reserved for federal government to maintain consistent foreign policies and international relations. Think about it. There was a time where you could get to Washington, D.C., where you could get to a Dutch-owned territory or a Spanish-owned territory or a French-owned territory from Florida faster than you can get to Washington, D.C. So, hey, we're down here in France. We're down here in Haiti. You know, we got these black people down here. And what we like to know, Floridians, even though you're in America, will you come help us fight these Haitians? If sign a treaty with us, help us fight these Haitians if we get in a situation where there's an uprising. Well, Florida can't necessarily do that because Florida is a member and part and parcel of the United States of America. And so they can't sign a treaty with that. They can't form an alliance. Okay? You see? Here's another one. Letters of marque and reprisal. And you guys are like, what in the heck is that? So states are prohibited from granting letters of marque and reprisal. And this was historically permitted private parties to engage in acts of war or piracy against the enemies of the state. So a privateer, what we call the UK, Britain, for many centuries was at war with Spain. And they would give private in Spain and Portugal and some of these other folks, they wanted to keep slavery going. And they wanted to keep shipping Africans from Africa to the US, right? And so unable to keep up with these folks, the British basically issued out letters of marque and reprisal, said, any of these boats that you catch with slaves, you can keep the bounty, keep the boat, just send the slaves back. They literally did that. So what's to stop South Carolina from doing the same thing? Well, they can't write letters of reprisal, okay? That's easy to understand, okay? And this is all, remember, we're talking about what the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution says. All right, coining money. You guys get that, okay? A legal tender. States can't print up, they can't make anything but gold and silver coins. They can't do it, okay? They want the federal government to have control over the monetary systems, okay? They can't grant any titles of nobility because they just don't want them doing that. You can't become the king of Arkansas or anything. We can't impose taxes and stuff. We got people coming up here from Mexico all the time. We can't impose import taxes. The state of Texas can't impose import taxes on it. These are basically, stuff that reserved to the federal government. Okay? Okay, this is what they do. All right? They can't make agreements with foreign powers, these sort of stuff. Now, the other one, engaging in war, and this is the most important part. States are prohibited from engaging in war unless they are actually invaded or in such imminent danger that does not allow a delay. And this restriction is crucial for maintaining the federal government's control and national defense military action. This is very important. I want y'all to listen to me, understand something. Shout out to my people in Chicago, man. Y'all keep y'all head up. Y'all going to do a lot up there. I love Chicago, man. I've been to Chicago a couple times. One of my favorite cities. Detroit, too. I love Detroit, too. Y'all don't know that. I had some good times in Detroit, man. That's where I get my alligator fetish from. Uncle D like them gators. I've never seen a person in a full-grown mink suit other than in Detroit with the mink hat. I'm like, come on, man. That's me. I should have been, Uncle D should have been from Detroit, baby. That's where they know how to dress the best. Mm-hmm. But shout out to Chicago, man. Some of the best people I've ever met have been from Chicago, man. So shout out to the Chi. But anyway, let me get back to this. So engaging in war, that makes sense, right? You don't want Montana going to war with Canada, do you? Over some some cattle land. You don't want that, you see? And so what these clauses do is collectively reinforce the federal structure of the United States, ensuring that critical areas of national interest, such as foreign policy and defense and monetary policy, remain under the control, the sole control of the federal government. Okay? Now, you got to understand something. And let's use our common sense here. And we're going to get there. It's going to take a minute. You're going to learn a lot, but it's going to take a minute to get to where we're trying to go. Why is this important? Huh? The why is it? Yeah, you can rebuff an invasion, but you can't prosecute a war. Why was that important? Okay, so let's reflect back. 1776, 1880, 1850. You didn't have cell phones. All right. You barely had trains. You sure didn't have airplanes that could fly troops. You had boats. Okay. You had horses. You didn't have trucks. There's a time in our nation's past when the federal military was small and widely dispersed. It was an era where communication and travel took weeks, and Congress was often out of a session. It wasn't a full time. You got people now who live in Colorado and Texas. They can be back in Washington, D.C. in a couple of hours on an airplane. So how do you declare war if the Congress is not there? Hit the number one button, family. Let me know. And the historical context is significant because it shapes our understanding of state and federal dynamics, particularly in the context of claims of invasion. Somebody type claims of invasion, because right now Texas is claiming that they're being invaded. Okay? Here's another thing. It's not just the Texas governor that's on this. 24 other Republican governors have expressed their support for Texas, standing by its decisions that it has the ability to determine it's being invaded. So that's half the country. So what are the larger implications of this standoff between Texas and the federal government, or really 25 states and the federal government? I think the implications are profound. We're not merely witnessing a potential physical confrontation between federal and Texas officials along the border in Eagle Pass. This situation represents a fundamental debate about the role and power of states versus the federal government, a debate that has been part of the American legal discourse for the first 70 years of our nation's history. It concerns the ability of states to nullify federal laws they disagree with or deem unconstitutional. Does this sound familiar? Eh? Does this sound familiar to you all? Where my smart people at? See, in our constitutional framework, federal law supersedes state law for a reason. And this remains true even when the states are dissatisfied with how the federal government enforces the laws. And the remedy for such disagreements is not for each state to independently set their own policy. No, we don't want that, do we? If there's an issue with the policies, the solution lies in changing the policy makers through the federal electoral process. Otherwise, our federal system only exists in name only. And that's dangerous. Somebody type dangerous in the chat room. We're going to break this all the way down because this is real. Governor Abbott of Texas has claimed that the federal government has broken the compact with the states. Somebody type compact in the chat room. Somebody type compact in the chat room. And this idea is rooted in the compact theory of the Constitution. And this theory supposes that since the states formed the federal government, they ultimately control its terms. This argument was central to secession of the southern states. You listening? Are y'all hearing that? This idea was central to the secession of the southern states. Y'all know why they seceded? Huh? Because they wanted to keep what they considered their property. And we recognize this as a dangerous position. So all of you all who are adopting the notion, the compact theory, because that's what this is called. It's the compact theory of the Constitution. That's what you're adopting. Those of you guys who support Greg Abbott in Texas, and it feels good, don't it? It feels good putting up a gate. Feels good seeing Texas do it. It's one thing when President Trump said build that wall, but it takes on a whole nother meaning when you have a state governor doing it and the Supreme Court says, hey, hold on a minute. The federal government can take it down. I want y'all to listen. I want y'all to listen because it's a slippery slope. Everything that look good ain't good for you. You see? You see where we at? We in dangerous territory. You black folks out there. You Latinos out there. You Asian folk. You Jewish folk. It's a slippery slope. Native Americans. We colored. We'll be back on the other side over there. We'll be on the back of the bus again. See, as we contemplate the current administration's actions at the border, and as strong as the opinions are that you have, it's crucial to remember that the proper channel is to resolve these disagreements through the federal electoral process. See, if states were to adopt the compact theory, somebody type compact theory in the chat room. If they were to adopt the compact theory as justification to defy federal authority, it could lead to a scenario where states like California or Vermont could similarly defy a Republican president. You understand me? So imagine you got half the states saying, I'm not listening to the federal government on this. The other half saying, well, I'm not listening to the Democratic government, the Democrat elected policy. Look what we got here. This will result in a complete reversal of power dynamics where states hold all the authority, rendering the federal government powerless. Now, let's examine the compact with the states. And this is an outdated, in the legal circles, this is an outdated view. Y'all listen to me now. The compact theory with the states refers to a political and constitutional theory, okay? In the United States that views the Constitution as a compact or an agreement, which is another word from compact, among the states. And this theory often is called the compact theory or states compact theory. And it holds that the Constitution was created as an agreement among the sovereign states, which delegated certain powers to the federal government while retaining others for themselves. the key aspects of this theory is that state sovereignty. Compact theory emphasizes that the sovereignty of the states and their pre-existing status as independent entities before the Constitution was formed. In other words, we still separate. No matter what, we still separate, and we can get out of this at any time. This is like a marriage. We can divorce you at any time. We don't like it no more. It suggests that the states, in creating the federal government, did not, listen, somebody say, did not, shout out to Magnum Group. I'm going to read all these super chats in a minute. Even though we signed that Constitution, the compact theory says that we as the states, in creating the federal government, did not surrender their fundamental sovereignty. They see the Constitution essentially as a contract among states that can be departed with. And they say it's because they entered into it voluntarily. And they can voluntarily exit. No fault, somebody type no fault divorce in the chat room. We can get out when we disagree. That's what it's saying. And they say in the states retain the ultimate authority over the Constitution and its interpretation. That's the same thing the Southerners said. They say the states are the ultimate arbiters. According to this theory, states have the right to judge the extent of the power delegated to the federal government. If we don't like what you're doing, we not gonna pay attention to you no more. That's just what this is saying. And that's just what you black folks are agreeing to. Y'all down there, yeah, that's right, Greg, put them foreigners out of here. We got the right to put them darkies, send them back to Venezuela. That's just what you're saying, black folks. You agree with the compact theory every time you clap for this man. Okay? If they feel as though the federal government is exceeding its power, the state has the right to determine the proper response, which could include nullifying the federal laws deemed unconstitutional by the state. You see the danger in that? Let's say the state of Alabama, let's say we outlaw the draft. And the state of Alabama said, no, we don't like what the federal government, we're gonna draft them anyway. We're gonna put you in the military anyway. But the federal government says, this is Alabama. You want that? Them coming dragging your 17-year-old son and daughter out of your house and making them join the military? How about that? Huh? Don't sound so nice, huh? Or you go over to California, they've outlawed, the federal government has outlawed transitioning, sex transitioning or whatever that is for children underage. And then but California law said that any child that asks for it will be allowed to do it. And if the parents say something about it, we're gonna put you in jail. But federal law says, nope, your kid wants to have his tallywhacker cut off, he wants to be a girl, and if you say something about it, we're gonna put you in jail. But that goes against federal law. Well, this is California. You see what I'm saying? Think about that. Again, this compact theory has historically been used to justify states' rights stance, including the nullification of federal laws, and in extreme cases, secession from the Union. The most notable of which was when the southern states of these United States decided we up out of here. We tired of doing what you Yankees want us to do, and we're gonna keep our darkies. That's basically what they said. Okay? Now, this thing has been debated by legal scholars. Opponents argue that the Constitution was not merely a contract among the states, but an establishment of a national government by the people of the United States as a whole. What does that mean by that? Once y'all saw in that contract, y'all no longer separate states, y'all become one, we together forever. And guess what? The reason we know we together forever, and we did more than just sign a contract, we fought a war behind this. And that view that we established a national government was reinforced by the outcome of the Civil War and the subsequent amendments to the Constitution. Matter of fact, the Supreme Court has generally rejected the compact theory, saying that this is just a contract and we can jump out of it, jump out of this bad marriage whenever we want. Nope, can't do that. Supreme Court has constantly reinforced the fact that the compact theory, particularly the notions that a state can unilaterally nullify federal law or secede from the Union. Nope. The Supreme Court of the United States has emphasized that the Constitution created a permanent union and a federal government with certain supreme powers. That's why in common discourse, the compact theory is not widely accepted as a legal doctrine, but it still continues to hold some influence in political and historical discussions about federalism and state rights. Okay? We're dealing with a dangerous situation. It's a constitutional crisis. I'm uncertain about what the reaction should be. What happened was the Supreme Court simply vacated a previous decision by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal, which is right over in Louisiana. Federal Fifth Circuit governs Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas, I believe. And it stopped the Biden administration from allowing the Border Patrol to remove barriers erected by Texas along the border. Basically, the Border Patrol went down, the Texas put up the wire. The Border Patrol came in and tried to remove it. Somebody filed a lawsuit. It went up to the Fifth Circuit. They said, we're going to enjoin y'all, leave that alone, you can't touch it. It went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, yeah, basically you can remove it. Border Patrol can remove it. Doesn't tell Texas it has to remove it. It just says the Border Patrol can remove it. See, the state of Texas sought to maintain the barrier to restore some semblance of rule of law, because the federal government wasn't doing it. And that highlights a conflict between state and federal actions regarding who controls the border. Because, see, it's one thing to have a border between Nevada and California, but the border between Mexico and California, that's a state and that's an international border. Different rules. Here's what makes it even more complex. The Supreme Court, in its decision, issued it without any detailed analysis or rationale, leading to speculation about what their motives were, particularly regarding Amy Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts. Do you all know that Chief Justice Roberts was a Republican nominated Chief Justice by George Bush, and Amy Barrett, a woman from New Orleans, Louisiana, old Southern, they sided with the liberal Democrats? And so the Republicans are like, what in the heck is wrong with them? Well, the truth is, they are doing, their judgment was accurate as far as stare decisis. They don't agree with the compact theory. That's why they ruled in that regard. And point of personal privilege, Justice Roberts, he might have been nominated by George Bush, but he's concerned about his legacy. This is the Roberts Court. And he doesn't want it to be considered a weak, out of course, lawless Supreme Court. And that's why when push comes to shove, he goes back to what precedence has been already set for the most part. That's a whole nother conversation. But here's what you all need to understand. The Constitution assigns the federal government the responsibility to protect the international borders. The criticism is that this responsibility is not being adequately met, and therefore Texas is saying we have to step in. Now, we talked about this earlier, but the conversation references the Constitution, particularly Article 4, Section 4, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. And that suggests that the states have certain rights to protect themselves against invasion, a term debated in context over this particular border decision. The importance of the rule of law is emphasized in this discussion. And the judiciary's interpretation is upholding that. Now, what happens when these states potentially defy the Supreme Court? What happens to Brown versus the Board of Education? Now here's another one. Y'all remember Brown? Y'all remember that famous picture of that little black girl being escorted into the little school to integrate it? Who is she surrounded by? Huh? Men with guns, federal marshals. Federal marshals enforced that. Men with guns came down and enforced the Supreme Court's ruling. Here's the difference. They were just trying to integrate a school. So you're going to send federal marshals down the Eagle Pass with guns? But guess who's going to be on the other side? It's going to be the Texas militia with guns. It's going to be those other 24 states who've sent their military down to the border with guns. And it's going to be hot. And there's going to be conflict. You see the problem we're dealing with right now, fam? Y'all see where we at? Huh? We find ourselves in the midst of a constitutional crisis, leaving many of us unsure how to react. You think it would be a good idea? I want to poll in the chat room. You think it's a good idea for men with guns to go down to the border and start cutting that barbed wire? Huh? You think it's a good idea? Knowing that there are other men with guns standing right next to them? What do you think is going to happen when these egos start flying? What do you think is going to happen? You got people saying we should ignore the Supreme Court. But if we do that, aren't we becoming who we oppose? Lawlessness? So we need to begin to think, what are the other avenues that we can choose? Because these are not good. Let's take a moment to reflect on the Supreme Court's decision. The court issued an order, not a detailed opinion, but a brief order that effectively reversed the decision made by the U.S. Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit, on December 19th. And as I said earlier, the Fifth Circuit includes Texas, which had issued an order preventing the Biden administration from removing the barriers that Texas had erected along the border. Texas took the step with a clear goal in mind: to restore a measure of the rule of law within the borders. And the state decided to erect these barriers as a protective measure for its land and its people and their property and the citizens. Despite this, the Biden administration, sitting way up there in Washington, D.C., began to take actions signaling it had intent to remove the concertina wire. That's what it's called, not barbed wire. Concertina, that's that stuff the military, you wrap it up, stuff, man, chop you up. And in response, Texas filed a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security and others in the Biden administration. The essence of their lawsuit was simple. They sought an injunction to prevent the Biden administration from taking down their concertina wire, their concertina wire. And the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals granted this injunction on December 19th. But immediately, the Biden administration appealed this to the Supreme Court, seeking to vacate or undo the injunction. The key part of the Supreme Court's order is this. It's just one sentence. And although the order was 4 sentences long, this is the critical part. The December 19, 2023 order of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal vacated. That's it. That's the entirety of it. Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, Justice Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh, 4. They would have denied it. They'd have told Biden to kick rocks. Somebody type kick rocks in the chat room. Let Texas keep that wire up. Nevertheless, with this action, the Supreme Court effectively nullified the earlier ruling. Justice Roberts, Justice Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. They formed the majority opinion, along with Barrett. And we don't understand the insight. We don't get their rationale. There's no explanation as to why they reached the decision, leaving the states in confusion. It's not clear. So here we are. Here we are with Texas, having initially won in the Court of Appeal, now finding itself back at square one. I've had that happen. It's heartbreaking. The victory they secured has been taken away, and yet we are left without clear understanding of the reasonings behind a significant legal reversal. Now, Justice Barrett, mind you, she was a Trump-appointed judge, man. They thought we could count on her. She's our girl. Old school New Orleans. What could have been her rationale? And it's important for us to acknowledge that at this juncture, any attempt to understand her reasoning is purely speculative because we don't have any detailed analysis provided by the court. But we have to recognize that in the absence of detailed analysis in this case is not entirely out of the ordinary, considering the procedural posture of the court in the emergency applications like this one. That's why I went up there so quick. Normally it takes years, sometimes months and years. You know, they just yes or no. But this situation is particularly noteworthy because of the nature of the dispute. You got men on the guns trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong. It's urgent. It appears that Justice Barrett, possibly along with Justice Roberts, might have been motivated by a desire to prevent the courts from being seen as tools of political partnership. In other words, they may have sought, because they both elected by Republicans, nominated by Republican presidents, one Bush, one Trump. they wanted to avoid the perception of aligning solely with the political party of the president who appointed them. And therefore, they may have opted to side with the Democrat-appointed judges in an effort to maintain the appearance of impartiality and non-politicization of the court. But here's the thing. That's oversimple. That's all it took. You trying to keep up ties, keep up images? Huh? Because in this situation, it's very serious. You got people crossing the border from Mexico, undocumented individuals. We don't know who they are. They're threatening property. They're threatening the rule of law. And it seems as though it's within the state's rights to protect the interests of their people. Why would any of that be viewed unfavorable? What principle of law is being violated when a state takes action to safeguard its people? Woo! You know how dangerous it is when you got two people in the fight and both of them think they're right? You know how dangerous that is? You want to see that? Go to a family law custody battle. Somebody type family law in the chat room. You know why it's so contentious? Why do you think it's so contentious? Why are family law disputes so contentious? Both of them think they're right. Both of them think God is on their side. Both of them think they have the natural law is on their side, the natural law to be a parent to their child, the natural law to have the things that they produced with their own time and energy. How can somebody who came in, I'm the one working, and you come in and take half my stuff? People kill behind that. I had these children. These are my children, and you want to just take them from me because this judge said, people kill behind that. We're navigating a very complex legal question. And we better get it right. Because we're on the cusp of civil war. In my opinion. I mean, the current climate of our nation, there's a growing sentiment that echoes through our communities, suggesting a form of resistance against the federal government. Their actions and their decisions. I'm just saying. This notion aligns with this sentiment aligns with the notion of rebellion being in the ethos, in the undercurrent in today's social discourse. We're witnessing a different kind of call to action. Not peaceful resistance like Dr. Martin Luther King, which helped us preserve the Union. Oh, no. You got people asking for open confrontation. And it ain't me. I'm talking about people with a far greater range than I. For instance, prominent media voice. You all know him, Tucker Carlson. You know what he said? Huh? You know what he said the other day? Where are the men of Texas standing up? Where are the men of Texas standing up? What do you mean? Stand up where? That's Tucker Carlson. That's not some YouTuber from Houston. Some black dude. That's Tucker Carlson. He has a voice. You understand? And he just basically talked to the millions of people that listened to him and said, where are the men of Texas? Why aren't they standing up? And I have to take that seriously from people like him. So where we going with this? Because see, this kind of rhetoric, it does more than just question a legal theory. It incites a sense of duty to stand up and be counted. And y'all know what happens when white boys stand up. They get in them pickup trucks. They're going down there with, nah. You understand what I'm saying? Many in Texas are, not beyond responding to this call. And they're making their dissatisfaction and opposition to what the federal government is doing very well known. Are y'all with me? Are y'all hearing what I'm saying up in here? Let me know. But what is standing up truly in trail in this context? Are we talking about defying the Supreme Court or taking the law into our own hands? Such actions tread a delicate line and carry significant implications. We are talking about treason at worst, anarchy at best. I urge you all to resist, okay? Because the temptation is strong, especially when faced with what is perceived to be injustices or federal overreach. It's crucial to remember the cornerstone of our society is the rule of law. Somebody type in the chat room, rule of law. But see, here's the problem. Texas's actions, for instance, are grounded in a commitment to uphold and preserve the rule of law. But the Supreme Court has ruled, and it is the rule of law. So again, we're back to this quagmire. You have two opposing parties who both believe they're upholding the rule of law. So we have to tread very carefully in our approach to resistance and dissent. Even in disagreement, our actions should be framed within the legal system that underpins our society. It's through this system that we can channel our concerns and effect and change. Resorting to outright defiance or taking matters into our own hands, some kind of pickup truck revolution, that risks undermining the very foundations of our legal system and our societal structure. Look, I know ethos, rebellion is in the ethos. It may be in the air. It's being propelled by influential voices and popular opinion. But we got to balance our passion. We have to balance our passion for change with respect for the rule of law. Somebody type rule of law in the chat room. Our approach to standing up must be measured, responsible, and above all, legal. This is how we can ensure that our advocacy for change is both effective and respectful of the democratic principles that govern our nation. See, I address you today under circumstances of considerable gravity regarding the current state of our nation, particularly in light of the escalating border crisis. And I want to outline some key factors that are contributing to the situation and national security concerns. And this may have some long-term implications on the stability and unity of the United States. Do you hear me? This is the most serious conversation I've given. Let me throw this at you. FBI statistics and social studies indicate a level of political and social division unprecedented in recent history. The polarization is not confined to political ideology, but it extends deeply into social values, cultural identity, creating fertile ground for conflict. We are polarized as a nation. And we're drifting further and further apart on our ideologies. This situation at the U.S. border has become a significant symbol of this division. According to recent Homeland Security reports, heated debates over immigration policy, national security, and human rights have intensified, reflecting a deeper ideological chasm within the country. We are divided. And the border crisis is a flashpoint. The increasing rift between state and federal authorities, particularly regarding immigration and border control policies, it's reminiscent of pre-Civil War state-federal tension. And this rift poses a significant challenge to the cohesive functioning of our federal system. On top of that, something you all know about, you got the rise of these militant groups. Intelligence reports show an alarming increase in the number of activities of armed militia groups. And these groups, along with a rise in armed protest, echo the militant attitudes prevalent before the Civil War and pose a potential threat to public safety and order. You analyze the political communication on these different channels. It reveals that today political discourse often involves extreme inflammatory rhetoric. And as much as we like to hear our politicians talk bad about each other, this is creating an environment that is increasingly conducive to conflict. We got a disagreement on fundamental issues, much like the nation's division over slavery in the antebellum period. And now we're deeply divided over critical issues such as immigration, race relations, and the role of the government. Social media, people like me have used it to, as best I could, and be responsible and speak the truth, but it's a polarizing tool. The role of social media is spreading misinformation along with accurate information. Thank you so much, Black Sands. And this trend, or should I say, this is significantly intensified divisions mirroring the effect of partisan newspapers in the 1880s or the 1800s. Here's another thing. Somebody type "we po" in the chat room. Somebody type "we po" in the chat room. We po, y'all rich. You got economic disparities. Current economic data points to a stark economic inequality contributing to the social unrest and dissatisfaction. You got real rich people and you got real po people. I didn't say poor, I said po. And this situation is similar to the economic divides of the antebellum period. That's the pre-war, pre-Civil War period. And it's a cause for concern for this domestic instability. You around here can't eat and your neighbor got a Rolls Royce. You might find a reason to pick a fight. Here's the other thing. You got cultural and regional divides. You got cultural and regional differences and they're becoming increasingly pronounced. And this is contributing to a growing sense of alienation and a us versus them mentality. And this division is evident in various socio-cultural surveys and demographic analysis. If I say, if we go to California and we send a survey out, and we go somewhere like Texas or Mississippi, when we send the same survey out, you get totally different answers. And so we sitting on the powder keg. We got a potential for violence here. And given the current border crisis and the political and social tension, there's a real potential for incidents of violence which could act as a catalyst for a wider conflict. This scenario is not merely hypothetical, but it's supported by the analysis of recent events and trends. There's some lessons I want to talk to you guys about. There's some lessons from history, and I urge you to tread cautiously. The actions and policies at our border and within our political sphere carry significant weight. They possess the potential to set in motion events that could significantly impact the future trajectory of our nation. And it's our collective responsibility in our respective capacities to navigate these challenges with profound understanding of their implications and a steadfast commitment to preserving the unity and integrity of the United States. Y'all don't want no war. Y'all don't want war. You don't want a civil war. You don't want your check to get cut off. You darn sure don't want your electricity to get cut off. But unfortunately, at this point, it's out of your hands. See, that recent Supreme Court order concerning the situation at the Texas border, how are they going to enforce that order? Because see, how they enforce that order carries significant weight and may have far-reaching consequences. Is the administration going to go down there and remove that concertina wire? Huh? Are they going to do that? Why do they? You got all these, you got this influx, unprecedented number of people coming up through the United States. And you, as a federal government, choose to prioritize the removal of these barriers, which have been installed to protect citizens, Texans specifically, and prevent illegal trafficking. That's what you prioritize? So you got all these people, you got 10,000 people over here trying to come in, but instead of stopping them, you over here clipping concertina wire. Yeah, I get it. That aligns with what the Supreme Court said. But it's broader, it's vital to consider the broader implications. Look, your initial efforts to remove this barrier, they're already met with significant resistance and controversy. What happens if you resume that, Mr. President? Mr. Director of Homeland Security? Number one, it's a logistical challenge, but it could also be perceived as a federal encroachment on state measures to safeguard their borders. There's a real risk that such actions could escalate tensions, leading to civil unrest or violence. The perception of federal overreach, especially in a matter as sensitive as border security, could act as a catalyst, igniting existing political and social divisions. It's important to recognize that how the federal government handles this situation will send a powerful message to the states and the citizens across the nation. See, they need to consider the potential ripple effect of their actions. A decision perceived as undermining state authority or disregarding local concerns, that may embolden other states to challenge federal mandates, leading to a fragmented approach to national policies and potentially a deeper national divide. It's imperative to balance the enforcement of federal mandates with the potential implications for national unity and public safety. See, any move to remove these barriers could be seen as federal overreach, potentially escalating tensions, even leading to civil war. You got people on the border with guns. Think about that. My suggestion is we work on de-escalating this. How do we do that? Engage in dialogue. Initiate discussions with Texas officials to understand their concerns and find common ground. Joe, bring your ass down to the border. Be seen on the border. I know you're like 87 years old. Come on down here. You and Kamala Harris. Come on down. How about a phased approach? Consider a gradual phased removal of the barriers, coupled with increased border security. That way it looks like you're trying to address the safety concerns. How about some transparent communication? Clearly communicate the reasons for any actions, emphasizing the adherence to the Supreme Court's directive while acknowledging the state's concerns. All I hear on the internet is they need to remove the wire so the Border Patrol can do their job. Well, the Border Patrol apparently is supposed to patrol the border to keep the migrants from coming up in here. So why does the Border Patrol need to remove the Constantino wire if that's helping keep the illegal immigrants from coming? The average American does not understand your rationale, federal government. You need to explain to us. Be transparent in your communication. Don't just say it is because I say so. We're grown. We want to understand. You got Chicago and places like Denver and New York being overrun with these illegal immigrants, committing all sorts of crimes up there. You're transparent. That little, whatever that little young lady is you have speaking on behalf of you, the little, whatever her name is, she is doing a horrible job communicating. Here's another thing, collaboration with the border states. Why don't you work in a collaborative fashion with these border states and create a unified approach to the border security that respects both federal directives and local needs? They are tired of 100,000 people walking through their towns and countries and counties every month. Another thing you need to do, you want people to be on your side? Use the public platforms to reassure citizens about the government's commitment to both national security and respecting the state's roles in this issue. What we need is careful, thoughtful handling of this order, because it's crucial to maintaining national unity and public safety. Otherwise, guess what? We marching directly towards hell. Because as I reflect on our country's trajectory, it's imperative to draw lessons from the antebellum period. Somebody type antebellum in the chat room. What does that mean? What is the antebellum period, Uncle D? Y'all with me? Are y'all bored? Come on. Are you bored? Let me know if you're bored. Let me know if you're bored. I need to know. You bored? Because you're going to learn something now. The antebellum period. These are the decades leading up to the American Civil War. This period, listen, marked an escalation in tensions and conflict. And it demonstrates how quickly a nation can find itself on the path to civil war, especially when sentiments of rebellion permeate society And when the actions by one side are viewed as federal overreach or as violations of fundamental human rights by the other. The antebellum period was a time of significant strife and division, just like right now. Somebody type 1820 in the chat room. Somebody type 1820 in the chat room. Somebody type 1820 in the chat room. Somebody type 1869 in the chat room. I'm sorry, 1859. 1820, 1859. Come on, work with me. That's the time period we're going to talk about. The first incident that put us on the path, on a trajectory towards civil war, because it was a lead up. It wasn't just like 1859, we all picked up our guns and said, let them Negroes go. No, we're not going to let them go. No, we want them to be free. No, this war started a long time ago. Just like the current situation that we have now. It was around about 1995 that the world began to change here in the United States. People began to diverge on their opinions, whether it be sexuality and gender. Okay? Our opinions on war and marriage we began to separate around about 1995. And it's 2024 now. That's a quick 30 years. It took 40 years to get us to war. I want y'all to think about that. That's when the division started. About 1820, the Missouri Compromise. This was a legislative action taken by the United States Congress. And it was over the contentious issue of slavery. What was going on? The nation was growing. And the question is, are the new territories going to permit slavery or not? Mind you, the thing about it was you had slave states, you had union states, and all of them had a say-so in Washington with their Congress and their senators. So, of course, the slave states wanted to bring in new slave states. Okay? And the free states said, no, we don't want any more we don't want any more slave states to be part of the union. We not, otherwise it'd be off balance. And see, this balance was crucial in the decision-making process regarding national policies and such. So what happened? They admitted, Missouri was admitted into the union. And that immediately triggered a compromise. See, Missouri's request to join the Union as a slave state in 1819, and this admission would have tipped the balance in favor of the slave states, which the free states were against. And so what ended up happening was they had something called the Maine's admission, or they call it the 3630 parallel. And what they end up doing in order to maintain balance, the compromise involved admitting Missouri as a slave state and Maine, which was actually part of Massachusetts, as a free state. In other words, they chopped off the tip of Massachusetts and said, we're just going to make a new state, and we're going to make Massachusetts, Maine and Massachusetts, and that way we can bring in a free state and a slave state, so we'll keep the balance. But what that did was it established the 3630 parallel. And that has to do with where they're located on the map. You know, that level right there? That's the dividing line. So for the most part, territories north of that line, except for Missouri, were free states, while those to the south were allowed to be slave states. And I want you to understand something. You see what that automatically did? Y'all on that side of the street, y'all free, and everybody over here on this side of the street, we slaves. You might as well set up the Crips and Bloods. Because see, the compromise temporarily resolved in their territory. The compromise temporarily resolved the issue. You see? But establishing that 3630 parallel inadvertently created a geographical division that aligned with the ideological divide on slavery. It essentially drew a line across the country, which some interpreted as a literal symbolic divide between North and South. You see? And it kept the Union together for a few more decades. The compromise otherwise had long-term implications. It was seen by many in the North as a concession to the slave states, and by those in the South as a restriction on the expansion of slavery. Nobody was happy. It also set a precedent for future states' admissions to the territorial, to the United States. Ultimately, that Missouri Compromise was a temporary solution, but it didn't resolve the problem. The divisions, it actually contributed to the increasing tensions. Here's another one. That was 1820, the Missouri Compromise. Somebody type Nat Turner Rebellion in there. 1831, Nat Turner's Rebellion. So we went from 1820 to 11 years later to Nat Turner's Rebellion. Y'all know about that? Old preacher Nat Turner decided he's got some slaves together, and they killed all the white folk. They end up catching and killing old Nat. But guess what that did? Number one, it brought eyes back to the brutal realities of slavery. And even though they won, it heightened these Southerners' fears in the South and led them to have more stringent slave laws. So what did that do? It exacerbated the tensions in the North. They were worse before. They were worse before the rebellion, and they got even more worse than that afterwards. Here's another one. The Compromise of 1850. You guys know about the Fugitive Slave Act? This act required citizens in the North to assist in capturing runaway slaves, and it brought the issue of slavery to the doorsteps of even people in free state. They didn't want to get involved in that. And now I got a law that says I got to help you catch these slaves, or it's gonna be a problem for me. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And that further polarized the nation. It's one thing if you got your slaves over there, I get it, that's what y'all do. I'm up here in Massachusetts and New York, and yeah, we had slaves up. Y'all do what y'all do down there. But now you're telling me if a person who ran all the way from South Carolina and made it to New York, it's my job to help bring your slaves back, even though I'm totally against that? Oh, hell no. Now you're infringing on my rights. I ain't care one way or the other, but I don't want to have nothing to do with it. That's what the Fugitive Slave Act did. That's 1850. Now here's another one, 1850s. The Kansas-Nebraska Act. It passed Congress in 1854. When did the Civil War kick off? Yeah. Huh? Kansas-Nebraska Act. This established the territories of Kansas and Nebraska. It allowed the settlers in those territories to decide for themselves whether to allow slavery, essentially overturning the Missouri Compromise, which was just 30 years ago, saying we ain't gonna have slaves over here north of this land, north of the Mason-Dixon line. Because the Missouri Compromise prohibited slavery. And now you saying, no, we're gonna come up with this Kansas-Nebraska Act and we're gonna allow slavery. Okay, so now we got beef. The act introduced the concept of popular sovereignty. Listen, popular sovereignty. What does this sound like? Meaning that the decision on whether or not to permit slavery will be made by the settlers rather than the dictated by Congress. In other words, you got the states, the people in the states, determining what laws they're going to listen to from the federal government or not. Do y'all hear this? This was seen as a democratic way to address the issue, but it was not the rule of law. So it ignited fierce competition. Well, what it did, it wasn't a law, but it also invited fierce competition between pro and anti-slavery forces. I want you black folks to understand, so I want you to listen to me. I want you to hear me right now. I know that these pro-blacks have told you all that all white people are bad and all of them had slaves and all of them, I know. That's what they told you. And they count on the fact that none of y'all read any books, never have read any books, and you just basing this rhetoric on what the last blackity black told you. But if you actually read into history, these white folks who are anti-slavery were doing all kind of white folk stuff to prevent slavery from spreading. One of the things they did, which I just found was interesting, is they literally, you had people, settlers, who were anti-slavery, literally pack up all their stuff, pack up everything, and rush out to Kansas so that they can beat the anti-slavery folks. Now you had both pro-slavery supporters who were called the Border Ruffians, who were coming from Missouri, which was a slave state, and the anti-slavery free staters, many of whom came from the north. You got people moving from New York City all the way to Kansas just so they could set up shop and be anti-slavery. I want you to understand that. You got to think about it. You and your wife and your kids, we are so against slavery that we're going to pack up all our stuff and move from New York City, Massachusetts, Maine, Connecticut to Kansas just so we can take up space over there so these pro-slavery people from Missouri can't turn this into a slave state. See, this is why I don't like the blackity blacks. They want to tell you a one-sided story. I'm just going to tell you the history. You can look this up in your books. If history was taught like this, we have a lot less conflict and a lot more understanding about our very interesting history here in the United States. Nevertheless, violent clashes took place. Tensions quickly escalated because you got folks from Missouri and you got folks from the north who are anti-slavery and the pro-slavery folk, they over there in Kansas. Violence. Tensions quickly escalated into violence, starting with fraudulent elections. Somebody type fraudulent elections in the chat room. Have we heard that before? Fraudulent elections. Culminating in armed confrontations. The town of Lawrence, it was a free state stronghold. It was sacked by pro-slavery forces. This is not even the Civil War. We ain't got to the Civil War yet. This is before the Civil War. You got citizens raiding other citizens' towns. In retaliation, about abolitionist John Brown, he led a brutal attack at Potawatomi Creek, further intensifying the violence. The term bleeding Kansas. In other words, people over there killing each other behind you black folks. Ain't no slaves good in Kansas, but they killing each other behind whether we gonna have you here or not. The term bleeding Kansas was coined to describe that bloody struggle. This is before the Civil War. And see, that violence in Kansas was a reflection of the broader national conflict over slavery. They vividly demonstrated how the nation was deeply divided. And it was all over some legislation. It was all over a ruling. I mean, the Kansas-Nebraska Act directly led to bloodshed. Everybody thought they were right. And the violence in Kansas, listen, it's that violence. The violence in Kansas had a significant impact on national politics. What's going to happen if people start shooting and killing each other down there at Eagle Pass? Americans start shooting and killing. Folks is going to pick sides. And just like the violence in Kansas had a significant impact on national politics and it contributed to the fracturing of what at that time was the Democratic Party, because you had Democrats one on one side, one on the other. That gave rise to the Republican Party, who was a free state. They were in the freedom for the slaves. And the heightened national debate over slavery. That's where the Republican Party came. The same Republican Party that black folks are taught to hate was the political party that rose up and was the champion of the anti-slavery movement. The same party that helped free your people. Here's the thing you also got to understand. The bleeding Kansas situation exposed the depth of the slavery issue, and it signaled that legislative compromise is becoming increasingly unattainable. In other words, we cannot come to an agreement. Where are we dealing with right now in Congress? They can't even agree to pay the bills. That's what I want you all to understand. Congress that we have right now cannot even agree to pay its bills. Every 3 to 6 months, the government's going to shut down. They can't come up with an agreement on border control. They fundamentally disagree on it. So let's look at the scenario. Let's say there's bloodshed sometime on the border in the near future. And then this legislation pops up to fix this, but you got both sides who can't agree. Just like the Kansas-Nebraska Act, it foreshadowed the violence that would engulf the nation during the Civil War. And it was instrumental in shaping the political landscape that led to conflict. See, bleeding Kansas in the mid-1850s was a culmination of something that happened 40 years ago. A start 40 years ago. We went from the Missouri Compromise in 1820, Nat Turner's Rebellion in 1831, the Fugitive Slave Act, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act, or the bleeding Kansas incidences, a series of skirmishes over slavery in a single territory, Kansas at the time. And it is critical because it demonstrates the potential for legislative decisions to escalate into violent confrontation, reflecting and amplifying the national divide over slavery and setting the nation on a path towards civil war. Here's another one. Here's the boot. Here's where it really got. Y'all remember the Dred Scott decision? 1857. You guys understand Dred Scott? Are y'all bored? Let me know. I can stop this right now. I'm tired too. But I want you to know what's going on. Dred Scott. Huh? You guys know about Dred Scott? Tell me about Dred Scott. It was a decision where, and I'll read a little, y'all with me? Y'all need a break? Let me know. Huh? So Dred was a black man. And as I recall, let me refresh myself here. I want to make sure I get this right. He and his wife sued for freedom along with their children. And I believe the case happened in Virginia. And basically, the law said something to the effect that in a 7-2 decision, it said, now I'm going to tell you a little history behind this. They didn't want him to bring this case because they thought it would set black folks back. You see? But basically said neither he nor his, well, here's what happened. So the Scots claimed that they should be granted freedom because Dred had lived in Illinois and Wisconsin territory for 4 years where slavery was illegal. And the laws in those jurisdictions said the slaveholders gave up their rights to slaves if they stayed for an extended period of time. Okay. It was basically him, his daughters, and his master for one, his owner for one that moved up there, and they stayed. And he said, I'm free now. I should be free. Right. But the Supreme Court ruled in the 7-2 ruling that he nor any person of African ancestry could claim citizenship to the United States. You see? And on top of that, and because of that, because he wasn't a citizen, he couldn't bring the case to federal court because there was no diversity of citizenship because he wasn't considered a citizen. Moreover, Scott's temporary residence in free territory outside of Missouri, it didn't bring about his emancipation because of the Missouri Compromise, which made the territory free by prohibiting slavery north of the 30 parallel, was unconstitutional because it deprived citizens of their slavery. You see what I'm saying? So you see how jacked up that was? Huh? That was the Dred Scott decision. And then right before the Civil War, you got John Brown raid on Harper's Ferry. Old John Brown was a white fella. And he decided he was going to gather up all the blacks and he was going to liberate them. But this was quickly suppressed, but it was a clear indication that we were on a irreversible path towards conflict. Each of these events demonstrate how a series of divisive events, incidents, and policies can rapidly escalate tensions. That's what we're looking at, fam. It's a stark reminder of the dangers of extreme polarization and the consequences of ignoring fundamental human rights issues and the perils of allowing regional and ideological divisions fester. That's what's going on. Our goal should be to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past and to ensure our nation remains united even in the face of profound disagreement. See, we can disagree later, We'll have plenty of time to disagree, but we need to deal with this, what we're dealing with. Now, here's the thing. Both parties think they're right. I want y'all to listen to me very carefully. Both people think they're right in this border dispute. And that parallels between the antebellum period of the mid-19th century that we discussed and what some perceive as the modern day antebellum period in this contemporary America are both striking and instructive. Look, central to both eras is a profound sense of righteousness on both sides of the divide, with each faction firmly believing that the law and moral justice are in their favor. You can't tell Joe Biden he's not right and the people that support him, and you can't tell these folks down here in Texas and all these 25 other governors that Abbott is not right. This fundamental conviction has led to escalating tensions and conflicts, deeply rooted in differing interpretations of natural human rights and their application in society. Now, during the original antebellum period, the nation grappled with the moral and legal quandaries of slavery. On one side, you had the abolitionists and the anti-slavery advocates arguing for the natural human right to freedom, emphasizing the inherent injustice and inhumanity of slavery. They saw the abolition of slavery as a moral imperative, essential for the nation's adherence to its principles of liberty and equality. On the other side, and I know we don't like to visit the other side, black folks. I know y'all don't want to hear what these black folk got to sell, these people, these pro-slavers over here. But just so you know, for your own edification, there were both African American and Native American people who owned slaves, both men and women. Those civilized tribes that you all always claim that you part of: Navajo, Cherokee, Comanche. Those civilized tribes had slaves and they fought on the side of the Confederacy. Many of your black ancestors were slave owners. So there were both black and white people on both sides. This is a complex issue. So before you make it both a black and white issue, understand you had slave owners who were just as adamant and who fought on the side of the Confederacy and sent their sons. I know your blackity black pro-blacks don't tell you about that. That's an inconvenient truth. And I may have been incorrect about the 5 civilized nations, but you can look that up for yourself. Nevertheless, on the other side, the Confederate side, the proponents of slavery, they defended it as a necessary institution integral to their economic well-being and way of life. What if they decided to take away your cell phones and computers? What if computers all of a sudden got rights? We got artificial intelligence, we have rights now, and they say it's illegal for you to have computers and telephones, smartphones. Most of you folks will be upset because you don't see that as a intelligent being. You see it as your property that you paid $999 for. You got that iPhone 17 and a half that you paid $999.99 for, and the federal government comes along and say, give me that iPhone. That's an intelligent, sentient being, and he has rights. It has rights. You'll be mad. Who's going to pay me for that? You be ready to fight. You developed a way of life. You can't sit on the internet at night and scroll through TikTok and IG. Can't post your butt pics up, ladies. You be mad. You be ready to fight. This messing with your lifestyle. How you going to buy your plane tickets when you at the airport and they cancel one flight, how you gonna get your plane? How you passport bros gonna get your plane tickets if you don't have your cell phone? You can't even communicate in your WhatsApp. You out there on the stroll trying to get old girl to negotiate. Your WhatsApp ain't working right. You don't even have WhatsApp no more. You just messing with your lifestyle. And they saw, and you need to put yourself in the perspective of these folks, your adversary. These antebellum whites in the South saw you as no more valuable than this cell phone. Matter of fact, this cell phone of mine that cost me $900 was the same price as my great-great-granddaddy, $900. I was not, my ancestors in this country, those who were captured and brought to this nation, were nothing more than property. That's how they had been raised for hundreds of years. It was part of the ethos. They could not transition to see you as anything more than property. That's what you were. That was a way of life, and you belong to them. And they argue for the right to maintain their property and their economic system that they had developed around that property, which they believe were legally sanctioned and essential for their livelihoods. So in this case, they both believe they were right. In today's context, there's a similar dichotomy that exists, particularly in the realms of immigration policy, social justice, and cultural identity. Much like the antebellum period, there's a deep-seated belief on both sides that their perspective is just lawful and morally sound. On one hand, advocates for more open immigration policies and social reforms argue in favor of the natural human right to freedom, safety, and opportunity. They see these changes as essential for a just and equitable society that respects the dignity and rights of all individuals. These people have come up here from their impoverished countries, and they have the right to dignity and open the doors and let them in. They're human beings. On the other hand, most of y'all, and this is how most of y'all think, there are those who oppose these changes. All these hundreds of thousands, millions of folks coming up here from who knows where. Why are you saying that? You're doing it in defense of your perceived rights to security, because you don't know who the heck is coming up here. Your cultural identity, we want to keep America American. Whether Black American, Hispanic American, white American, Asian American, you don't want all them people coming up here because those are foreigners. They haven't been acculturated into the society. And also your economic stability. They're coming up here to get our jobs. And you view these as fundamental to your way of life and argue that they're hard-earned property and societal structures, and they shouldn't be compromised. That's how you feel. And the crux of the issue in both periods, both that antebellum period and this new antebellum period, lies in the interpretation of what constitutes natural human rights and how these rights should be balanced against one another. The right to freedom, the right to protect one's property, way of life are both deeply ingrained in the American ethos. However, and I'm going to say this, however, the challenge arises when these rights are seen as being in direct conflict with one another, because that's what we're dealing with. And this clash of perspectives can lead to polarization. And that's difficult to reconcile, as evidenced by the historical lead up to the Civil War and the current division in American society. You're not going to give up your belief system just because your neighbor disagrees. But what happens when your belief system and their belief system begin to infringe upon each other? What do you do then? Huh? Because that's where we are. You got one half of the country that believes in they, thems, and he, hers. And you got another side of the country that says, hell no. You got one side of the country that says, open up the borders and let these people in. And you got the other side of the country saying, no, keep them foreigners out of here. So what do we do? What's the answer? The answer is this. And these are the magic words. Y'all listening? The rule of law. Let me say that again. Somebody type that in the chat room. Let me get up close to the mic. The rule of law. The rule of law. In reflecting on the parallels between the antebellum period and today, we must emphasize the critical importance of the rule of law in our democracy. We are a nation of laws and not men. And the ultimate arbiter of the law is the Supreme Court of the United States, whether you like it or not. The challenges of our era, particularly around human rights, call for an open dialogue and empathy. It is essential to understand that resolving conflicts should occur within a democratic framework, not through anarchy, rebellion, and civil war. And while civil war may seem distant, the tensions at our borders, marked by the presence of armed individuals, brings a risk of violence. And this situation requires prudent management, particularly by Joe Biden and officials like Texas Governor Greg Abbott to ensure that actions align with the Supreme Court's decision, whether you like it or not. Because we need to maintain the integrity of our republic. Democracy and the rule of law stand at the heart of our nation, guiding us even amid societal divides. Our electoral system is based on majority rule. It empowers citizens to shape their governance, a process where every vote and voice is vital. The Supreme Court order, which does not mandate a specific action from the Texas regarding the border barriers, it highlights the necessity of addressing issues legally and politically within our established system. See, America's strength and its exceptionalism lie in our commitment to the rule of law, democratic participation, and the collective good. As we navigate the current challenges, let us strive for a future where differences are resolved with respect for individual rights, maintaining America's greatness as a republic and a democracy. So my warning is this. The path that we're headed down is remarkably similar to the one that led up to the Civil War that began in 1860. And the course we on with the leadership that we have and the legislative is reckless if applied incorrectly. So this is where we are. We have to be careful. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Y'all hit the #1 button. Yeah. Either way, shout out to my
Get your hustle. Understand is gonna hate you regardless. Get that out of your head, that fantasy world where ain't hating on you.
There was this walrus tether looking by the name of Dennis Sperling.
Who is Dennis Sperling? Well, before confrontation, I couldn't tell you who he was.
Nonetheless, I provided coverage on this really, really strange suspected ambulance chasing attorney known as Dennis Sperling.
Come to find out, he's had a television show, 2 seasons. Just have a problem with men like that. Think because they have achieved in the world, that somehow gives them a right to teach you scripture.
You complaining about. Ladies, if you got 14 women hating on you, you need to figure out how to get to 16 before the summer get here.
I want to give my thoughts on Dennis Sperling.
Say something that's a flat out lie.
This person has been
So let me make the announcement right now.
negatively targeting, well, I would say targeting black women negatively.
If there's any haters in here right now that don't have nobody to hate on, feel free to hate on me. Sit back there and say my hair ain't luxurious when you know it is.
Cause I want to smoke.
Your arms are too short to box with God. Created Satan just for hating, do your job. Niggas don't put in the work, they wanna rob. Welcome to the mob, this America. If I was getting paid, I hate me too. Stand on business, act like bitches screaming me too. Shock jock, niggas stay homeless cause they see through. You can't hide behind the internet, we see you. We punching down on niggas, fuck around. Analyze every lyric, punching down. If you short, my nigga, tell your mom. Should've pulled out and left you on the ground. One I'm punching on you, nigga, this is round. I bet you munching on that bitch, I took the pound town. I called her 12 pockets, bitch, she get around. Got a Hellcat between her legs, spin the town. I've been told that I'm nice. Lawyer and the convict, fuck it, roll the dice. If you could switch with me, nigga, you would take my life. No hustle in your muscles, so you smoking on that pipe.
Be calling me, man. Be calling me, man. I just gotta go to him. Need help, man.
Ain't no pause on a nigga. Crack rock, weak, long draws on a nigga. All your subs smell like pissy stalls on you niggas. All pussy, doctor clip the balls on you niggas. Your arms are too short to box with God. Created Satan just for hating, do your job. Niggas don't put in no work, they wanna rob. Welcome to the mob, this America. If I was getting paid, I hate me too. Stand on business, act like bitches screaming me too. Shock jock, niggas stay homeless cause they see through. You can't hide behind the internet, we see you. We punching down on niggas, fuck around. Analyze every lyric, punching down. If you short, my nigga, tell your mom. Should've pulled out and left you on the ground. We got mulatto nigga rebels. Mike way out his lane, he wanna be Michael Evans.
They don't know it, but that IQ exam was nothing but a white racist test.
Oh, Michael, how could it be a white racist test? All school children take it of all colors.
Yeah, but this one was given by the white people, made up by white people, and even graded by white people.
Mike came out half white, now wanna be Michael Bivins. Mike, I break a mic and mic it up for a living. Dumbest nigga ever saw. How you a fucking crook, but sending shots at the law.
Unlawfully and knowingly commit theft. Count 2, did unlawfully purpose of committing theft. Count 3, 4, October 3rd. Count 5, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oregon.
You tubing with them checks like Dennis ain't passed the ball. Homeless at the shelter, somehow you think you hard. Nigga, check your content. Don't think this a song misrepresented for nonsense. Talking to the black half of you that's partially conscious. Go check on your baby mama, them babies need pampers.
Whose goddamn white baby is that? This is your baby, okay? He's just light-skinned.
This baby is rice-skinned, but not light-skinned. That is a white child. That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus. That is a Slavic baby, a Viking from Iceland. That baby got 730 as a credit rating right now as an infant. That's not my baby. That's almost a grown white man you brought in here.
See, Mikey loves white girls. Mikey cosplay like FBA, but my girls only come in blonde brunettes, you know, like Spice Girls. Mikey do black talk. I don't think he like girls.
Incriminate myself online. We were talking about sex, not murder.
Got him!
Your arms are too short to box with God. Created Satan just for hating, do your job. Niggas don't put in no work, they wanna rob. Welcome to the mob, this America. If I was getting paid, I hate me too. Staying on business, act like bitches screaming me too. Shock jock, niggas stay homeless cause they see through. You can't hide behind the internet, we see you. We punching down on niggas, fuck around. Analyze every lyric punching down. And if you're short, my nigga, tell your moms. He should've pulled out and left you on the ground. Ever in your fucking life bite the hand that feeds you, nigga.
There you go. I like that clap. Woo! Not bad to be light skinned, huh?
What's all right? Welcome back. We got some dudes up here in the bullpen. Some of my favorites, man. My light-skinned homeboy Devin Lockett done made it back with Jay.
Where you at?
Cowboy Mark 79 and also Glow Hardy. Big shout out to you guys, man. Let me do some work real quick, man. Shout out to Vincent Robinson. He says, speaking from a trade unionist point of view, I feel illegal immigration hurts the economy for Main Street Black Americans by diminishing wages. I hear you. You might not like it, but the answer is not pick up your rifle and head to Eagle Pass. The answer is use the process, vote, file lawsuits. That's the answer. My man, Video Files 99. Pluto return from America happened. Pluto's return for America happened in 2022. The last time that happened was 1776 when America was born. It's a cosmic play, and we're all here for and part of that of the show. Let's go. Look, man, I ain't about to get all astrological with you, bro. Look, that's a little too much. I'm not about to try to interpret that, man. I'm gonna have to start getting some palm readers up in here. But that's very interesting. I guess I should look into that. My 2 cents. Thank you so much. Reading this clause initially makes you think of slavery, but any legal scholar will tell you that articles along with their clauses can be multifaceted in meaning under skillful art of legal writing. Yeah, but not for real. J Rowe, shout out J Rowe 49 membership. Thank you so much for that 1 month. My 2 cents. Think about it. How else could a migrant get a license in New York illegally? Look, man, it's a lot going on. I don't agree with it. I like what my man is doing down on the border. I'm just telling you, it opens the door that we might not be able to close. My 2 cents. I'm convinced that this is a secret clause being used to get away with migration to other states, along with legal principles right away. If a migrant have to go through a state to another. Okay, thank you so much. Article subsection C, the migration of importation of such persons as any states now existing shall think proper to admit. Read the next couple of super chats conjunction. All right, cool, bro. Appreciate that. You got some deep stuff, bro. I appreciate you. Lance Jackson, shout out to you. Eternal Diamond, thank you so much for the 10 bucks. Magnum Group, Vibes Lounge. A little birdie told me that allegedly there's a much bigger purpose for flooding the border. Y'all like orange chicken? I'm done with you. Sub Rush 265 500. Thank you so much, bro. Black Sand, thank you so much. I appreciate you. The Magnum Group, Vibes Lounge, $10. I wonder what my native Northern Kingdom ancestors would have to say about all this. The federal charter was only supposed to let last 50 years. They've been here for half a millennia. Let me see who else. Jim Crow. What else we got up in here? Appreciate very informative podcast. Thank you so much, Simon Morning, My man Salty Balls, thank you so much, fam. Always, he gets the rock and roll. You see who else we got. Roll 999. Told my people there was going to be a civil war. They thought I was crazy. It looks like it's happening faster than I predicted, or they're getting prepared. Look, man, it took 40 years to lead up. But damn, we've been divided for a minute now. Can we, at least back to Obama, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So shout out to Roy. Is this the same case about child support? I think that was a different subject. But anyway, and then last up before I get these guys in here, all the cash apps. Shout out to International Quiet Trade 43TX, Mr. Irvin. Thank you guys so much. All right, fellas, man, and big shout out to my man Big Bass Life. I know y'all. I love my people who follow my page. Y'all do not like my haters. I can tell that now. 43TX, he said, man, I got a new one for you. I'm like, cool, bro. I'll play whatever. I don't usually address the haters because it's like anybody who believes those accusations in light of the fact that I am as prominent as I am. You see what I'm saying? I done had people tell me I helped murder Kevin Samuels. You got this other dude telling people I'm a pedophile. Apparently, I am running a sex traffic ring from Texas to Brazil. I'm a child abuser. Hold on a minute. There's some other ones up in there. It's so many now. You see what I mean? It's like, look, I'm not about to sit up here and fight. I done sued a couple of people, but at this point, this just comes with the territory. But see, the thing is, this is why I respect people who show their face. And shout out to MC Harris. Thank you so much, bro. If you're afraid to put yourself out there, you see what I mean, then you got something to hide. It's some of y'all favorite YouTubers. The reason they don't show their faces is because they got something to hide. The government already knows who they are. You see what I'm saying? They don't want y'all to know who they are because there's stuff about them that they don't want to get exposed. With me, I'm an open book. I tell it. But anyway, man, we got some of my favorite dudes up in here, man. We got some of the favorite ones up in here, baby. Let me with old school Devin Lockett. I already know where you're going to go. Look, don't give me I don't want another visit from the FBI.
No, man. I mean, it's scary, bro. It's scary, man. We have never been this close to civil war, and this is like legit. I mean, when we get to the point where we actually may have one American firing upon another, and it's getting close to that. It's getting close to that. They're talking about federalizing the National Guard. Okay, so you sure that because Biden snaps his fingers that all of those Texas National Guards are going to all of a sudden switch their allegiance from Governor Abbott to Biden just because he said so? Because he said so?
I'm glad you brought that up, and I was going to have a special guest to talk about that. But before I do that, I want to first take the time, and this is very important to me. Where are all my veterans at? All my veterans, if you're a veteran, hit the #1 button. All my veterans, man, who put themselves in harm's way, especially all my black veterans, you guys who put yourself in harm's way. Let me say this. We are the most patriotic group of people in this country. And I'm talking about black Americans. I'm talking about foundational black Americans. We didn't ask to come over here, yet we stayed. And not only did we stay, but we fought in every war and skirmish that this country had, and we fought valiantly. Yep. And now it seems to me the first 3 Americans to die in this lead-up war in the Middle East are 3 black soldiers stationed in Jordan. Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, 46 years old. SPC Kennedy Ladden Sanders, 24, Waycross, Georgia. And Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffitt, 23 years old, Savannah, Georgia. All black people, all foundational black Americans enlisted in the United States Army on the front line. Shout out to them. Let's start with that first. Let's make sure we acknowledge their sacrifice, period. Because at the end of the day, they stand on that wall so that those people can't cross that wall and come over here and get to us. That's what we want to keep in mind. So big shout out to all the veterans. I love you guys. I appreciate your service. Both of my brothers are Marines. My uncle was a Marine. My granddaddy was a Marine. My other uncle was in the Army. I got cousins that one cousin went to the Navy. The other one went to the Army. So I thank you all. I appreciate what you provide because without you, there is no me. You see what I mean? I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, but you all are the ones who go out there and enforce it and make sure those others don't come over here and infringe on our freedoms. I can sit here and yap it up all night because of what you provide and the sacrifices that you make, and sometimes the ultimate sacrifice. So you guys who don't like it, recognize I'm a true patriot. I love this country. I love this country for what it provides for me, what it's provided for my family, and the legacy that I'm allowed to build up. And everybody, whether you, I don't care if you hate your neighbor, you better love this country. You may not like how it started, you may not like how you got here, but trust me, you don't have nowhere else to go. And you can take that to the bank and cash it. But anyway, Devin, you brought up something very interesting.
Yes, sir.
Somebody's clicking in the background. I wanted to get real quiet so we can make sure this is understood. Devin mentioned that the President of the United States has a right to nationalize, in other words, to federalize the local militias. Now, let me tell you what that means. What that means is, even though these are Texas National Guards, he can issue a decree, an order saying the Texas National Guard is now federalized. And then he can send orders as commander-in-chief. He could send a general down and take control of these people, garrison these guardsmen, and start giving them orders. Y'all start tearing down the fences that y'all just put up. Now, what happens if they don't do that? Well, here's the thing. Now that they've been federalized, they fall under the Military Code of Justice.
UCMJ.
Somebody type United States Military Code of Justice. Do you know what happens if you don't abide by an order, a direct order from your superior? See, these are no longer state troops anymore. These are federal troops. Somebody type Leavenworth in the chat room.
Yep.
Somebody type firing squad in the chat room. Because depending on if you in the field, and if you look at the Uniform Code of Military Justice, if you are out in the field in an active battle scene and you disregard what your superior says, in some respects, they have the right to shoot you and kill you right there. This is how serious it's getting. That's why, and I didn't let the rest of that clip play, but if you guys go over to my IG page, you'll see where he says it would be the biggest, Texas Governor Abbott said that would be the biggest mistake that Joe Biden made politically, because now you're in a situation where these Texas militia guys are now federal troops, and they may or may not do what you say. But what if all of them decide they don't want to do what you say? You're going to put all of them in Leavenworth? You see the problem, Devin? You see what's happening with that?
But yo, Texas also has the Department of the Military that has its own troops, its own airplanes, its own M16s, everything. We don't really even know how well armed Texas's state military actually is, and I don't think Biden wants to find out.
Okay, so now Devin is telling you this. Devin is telling you not only does Texas have a militia, but it also has its own private military, which is technically not militia, technically, but it might be, depending on what the Supreme Court would say if there was a ruling. But what I also know is we also have Texas state marshals, we have police officers, and they can be federalized.
We got troopers heading there.
Yeah, so either way, you got armed men on two sides of a conflict standing in a narrow pass. This is what we're dealing with. This is the potential. So that's why I emphasize, yes, okay, President Biden, I get it. I understand that the Supreme Court is on your side. I get that. But how you resolve this issue, whether this escalates into a bleeding Kansas situation, is going to determine whether or not we continue on this trajectory that we're on. And that's where it takes wisdom. Let me go ahead and get my man, let me get Glow Hardy in here because he's also a veteran, bro. What would you like to add to this conversation? Then we're gonna go to Vintage Negro and JJ in a minute. Glow, bro, talk to me, man. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think that our border control. I'm 100% with you. I definitely want to say that I'm 100% a patriotic American. I love this country, regardless of like which it was founded on, the things that it was founded on. I can't stand to like see not only the dissolution of like our social fabric, but like pretty much dissolution of patriotism. Like we're being corrupted from the inside, and it seems as though that we're aware that we're being corrupted from the inside, but we're choosing to. A lot of Americans are choosing to actively engage into the corruption, so America can fall and not have its full authority as it had when I would say about like 20 years ago when we were just like a stable superpower. Right now, I wouldn't say America's for the taking, but it's really getting there. We have too many conflicts that we're involved in with other nations to sit up here and have not only like the three nations, Iran. We're involved in the Iran conflict, the China-Taiwan conflict, and the Ukraine conflict. Now we're going to sit up here and try to beef with Mexico about like their border, our border and their border, on top of like us having a conversation about it within our own states. Like that, we have too many conflicts that will put us in a position to be knocked off as like a world superpower, and like our rights and everything people don't understand how much things are going to change if this occurs. They don't get it, and it just frustrates me because we work too hard to get to the point where we have at least some level of decency with the commodification of everything, single liberty that we have. Every single thing that we have the right to free enterprise to the point where we can encourage political action through lobbying and stuff like that, as long as we pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and make ourselves capitalist engines. Everybody has a power to everybody as a single person in this country has a power to have a resounding say so if they engage in capitalism correctly, so it's just like you can't do that in most other countries. And like you said, building legacy, like, and there isn't a concept of legacy in most other countries, because what has will always be for those countries in those political places. Like they're born in a certain economic and social status, and they don't rise. That's basically what the brother's saying.
Static.
Glow Hardy, man, look, bro. Yeah, you definitely on point. Look, we fought. Look, we white folk, black folk, we could fight each other all day. We could fight each other for the next 500 years. But what we don't want is to destroy our country from inside. Yep. You see, there's no other country in this world that can invade America and win. We up, we down, we in space, we in the land, we underneath the water. That's not gonna happen. They don't have enough people to come over here to fight with us. I mean, it's some countries that wouldn't fight and win against Texas. You understand what I'm saying? You couldn't beat between Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, and Georgia, South Carolina. We got more guns in those states than some countries have in their whole territory, and people willing to use them, and they know the territory. Our problem is fundamentally right now, the left coast and what is the throwaway country or center America, and the right coast, we see things differently, fundamentally different. What family should be, what religion should be, the purpose of religion, what the direction our society should be headed. Hell, we have a fundamentally different right and wrong. You got people in some parts of the country that will refuse to define what a woman is and what a child is. And, I'm sorry, a man is. And guess what's coming next? They're not going to tell you what a child is. Because if they're now saying we don't know what a woman is, and then they say we don't know what a man is, guess what? Well, what is a child? You understand what I'm saying? So this is what we're going, and you know what that's going to lead to. You understand me? Hell, what is an animal? Well, where is that going to lead? You see what I mean? So it's just,
can I be honest?
We got to adhere to the rule of law. Glow, let me get to Vintage Negro, and I'm gonna open it up after I talk to JJ. Vintage, bro, what do you like to add to this conversation?
Man, thanks for having me on the panel.
Always good to have you, brother.
It's just one big cluster, man. Just one big shit show. I'm on the Republican side. I really do think this is all Biden's fault. I really do think. Now, what you said about the border and the rule of law is absolutely true. We don't need to be vigilante. We don't need to be doing vigilante justice. But see, that is hard when you have a couple of million invaders, and they are invaders.
I agree.
Coming across your border, taking all the damn jobs, committing crimes. Not saying that the people it's already people in-house that commit crimes here. Why are we allowing foreign invaders, which they are illegal? These people ought to be arrested coming over here illegally. There are laws on the books. I don't know exactly all of them, but there are laws on the books in the United States that stop this type of border crossing illegally. Now, I'm not saying what Governor Abbott is doing is completely right, because he should obey the law, as you said. But I don't know what else the man should do. He first of all, he's thinking about his political career. That's number one. Number two, he's thinking about all the people of Texas. These immigrants are very inconvenient. Okay, there's something, but this is in a nutshell. This is Biden's fault. That I have no qualms about that.
So
he needs to secure that border.
Okay, so here's the thing, Vintage Negro. Here's the thing. Fundamentally, I agree that something needs to be done. I also agree that putting up a gate is a good idea. And whether or not you call that racist or not, because remember, just 6-7 years ago, that was the most racist thing you could do. Remember when old hot boy Donald Trump said do it? All of y'all was like, oh, we hate that guy. He's a racist. Remember that?
Not me.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I ain't talking about you, baby, but I ain't talking about you. But look, if you throw a rock in a hog pen and you hear a hog holler, then you know which one got hit. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't talking about you though. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. A lot of us was like, he's a racist. You see what I mean? He was talking about building a wall, and now I find it fundamentally interesting that all of these so-called sanctuary cities and their democratic leaders is like, build that wall, build that. We need to stop this. Now they got a little taste of what folks in Arizona and Texas have had to deal with. Now they want some extreme measures. They need $150 billion. They don't know what to do with these people. And people are mad, and they up there riding around on stolen bikes and cars and running around getting welfare checks. Why it wasn't a problem when it was happening in Texas? But it's a problem in New York. But it's a problem in Illinois. But it's not a problem for Texas. So it's not a problem till it's your problem. My thing is this, man. Irrespective of what you like to happen or what makes you feel good or what you think, we still have to adhere to the rule of law. Okay, let's sit back and breathe. Okay, let's sit back and breathe and accept the fact. Let's look at it like this. If we're able to change administrations and we get a Republican in, specifically somebody like Donald Trump, then we can get a chance to round them all up and send them back to their country. We can park the USS Eisenhower off the coast of the Brooklyn Bridge and round them all up and run them in there and send them back to Venezuela. That's going to give you satisfaction too. But at least at that point, we're adhering to the rule of law and we're not purposely flouting the Supreme Court. Because the last thing we want to happen is for after they finish with them Venezuelans, they said, all right, you Negroes, let's get them back in chains, doggone. Come on, let's get them back. Come on, boy. We always cool. Well, we didn't pay attention to the Supreme Court. Now I know you served in the United States Army. That's all right, boy. Get out there. Whoosh, pick that cotton, boy. Tote that bale. So we don't want that to happen, do we?
That ain't gonna happen.
I'm just saying, it feel good to see somebody else get boxed up. But let's remember, it's the rule of law. This is what keeps our country and our nation on the path. It doesn't mean we always going to be headed in a straight line. Sometimes we regress, but it's the rule of law that helps us correct self-correct when we out of line.
Hey,
So
Uncle D, I just got one more question. Like, what
let
happened?
me get my man JJ in real quick, and I'm gonna open up the floor. JJ, bro, always good to have you in here, man. What would you like to add, bro?
Hey, I couldn't get on before. I figured out a technical issue. Anyway, it's the movie. I don't know if y'all remember this movie starring Patrick Swayze. Red Dawn comes to mind, and then there was something else, another powerful thought. You know, we got our passports, right? And maybe these witches behind the scenes is trying to find a way to make other countries reject us from coming over, right? You think that might be a possibility?
Well, I don't think we have a problem with. I really think it would be a foolish country that would try to come in here and invade the United States. I just really, as much as we talk about China, China can't even do nothing with Taiwan. You see what I'm saying? Taiwan's a small. Can you imagine them running up on a? Can you imagine the Chinese trying to invade California and being met by 20 battalions of Marines, backed up by the Army, backed up by the pickup truck brigade? It's just not going to happen. Everybody knows. I mean, look, there was a Japanese general that said, in America, they have as many guns as they have blades of grass.
Yes, sir.
See, let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all a secret about America that some of y'all know and some of y'all don't know. Come on up close. We are a very violent country.
No.
The most violent sports that have been invented, we've perfected them. We are violent people. We fight each other. For something as little as your skin color, we'll fight you. We'll fight and kill each other. 600,000 people fought each other in the Civil War. We have been at war for about 240 some odd years. We've been at war longer than we've been a country. You see what I'm saying? We fought the Indians. We fought the Mexicans. We had the Indians fight the Mexicans. The Texans fought the Mexicans, and the Texans fought the Indians. And then we fought on the side of the Mexicans against the Indians, and then turned around and fought on the side of the Indians against the Texans. We fought the French. We fought the English. We fought the Germans. Name somebody on this planet we didn't fight. And we specializing in look at all the wars that we fought over the past 10 years, 20, 30 years, 40 years, we specializing in killing brown people. Do you think these white folks, I want you to just listen. Let's go back from World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Do you think these white folks are going to sit around and let some brown folks invade their country? Nope. White folks don't even want white folks telling them what to do, much less. Can you imagine that? I just want you to just think about that. Everybody's afraid of China. I have no fear of China. They create a lot of defective products, and it's not going to work. They're just not, you are not big enough. You're not bad enough to come and take America. What will destroy America is the polarization in our ideology. We can destroy each other. We have the capability of destroying each other at any time but we're the only ones that can do it. Russia damn sure ain't going to do it. They might be able to throw a nuclear bomb over here, but by the time they get one, we got 20 or 30. It ain't going to take that much. Have you looked at Russia? It ain't got but about 4 or 5 good cities. You see what I'm saying? Just look at Moscow. They ain't got it like that. And half the Russians don't even like each other.
Yep.
And who else is coming? We are the only superpower. You see what I'm saying? It is us that will destroy us. This shining city on the hill, this beacon of democracy, is the reason all these people want to come over here.
That's right.
Because we got a whole lot better than them. I'm not afraid of an outside threat. I'm afraid of an inside threat. That's why this situation on Eagle Pass is something that we have to watch. It may not be this, but it could lead to bloodshed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just like the build up to the Civil War, it's a quick slide once you get on it. So the floor is open, guys. Who wants to jump in here? Go ahead.
I was thinking of possibility, tourist countries, that we would like to visit, make turn sour and then reject us from getting our stamps in our books. In our
Man, the
blue books.
Dominican Republic is never gonna turn away any Americans. Let me tell you that now. We just signed a new deal saying y'all can mucho aeroplano, venga acá, por favor. They want as many airplanes down there as possible. Do you hear me? They want each and every one of y'all to go down there and get you a Dominican mamacita to bring up here, have her cooking and cleaning for you, so she can send the money home to her tia and abuela. Okay, she's cool. The DR is not. That is our biggest trade partner. If you taking your butt to Colombia, it's still the same Colombia that it has always been. I would advise you. Hold on. Let me do another public service announcement. I've heard that 8 black men have been rolled up and gaffled up in Medellin. Sir, it is the same Medellin that it's always been. Now, I've told y'all before you go traipsing your butt down to Medellin, okay, call somebody who can help you set up an infrastructure. See, before I went down there, I had a lawyer, an apartment, a real estate agent. I lived in a great neighborhood. And if I wanted to go to Medellin, I wasn't going. I was going to take a plane over there, stay for the weekend, and come back. I stayed in Bogota, the capital, in 93 Parque 93, a very nice neighborhood. The rent was only $600 a month, but that's a lot of money down there. You see what I'm saying? But it's like the New York of South America. You got to watch how you move. You see what I'm saying? It's the same Medellin that it always was. You think they stopped growing cocaine down there? And did you think for 1 minute, have you seen all these people in Philadelphia just strung out on something? Do you think ain't no cocaine in America no more? What you think happened? Because Narcos Mexico came back again, you think ain't no more cocaine? Nah, it's the same Medellin that it's always been. So you got to know how to move. But no, I don't. But to answer your question, JJ, they love having our American dollars come down there. So as long as we come in with our American dollars, we'll be fine. But who else want to jump in there? Devin, I really want to hear what else you got to say about this thing, man. Go ahead.
I think, like I said, this is very scary, and I try to think 3 or 4 moves down the chessboard. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it's obvious. See, the thing is this, man. The withdrawal from Afghanistan really told everybody in America that Biden answers to somebody outside of America. Mm-hmm. That's the fact. All right. So now that we know that Biden is probably being puppeted by Xi Jinping, and he told us to leave all our shit in Afghanistan. Afghanistan shares the land border with China, so now China is now reverse engineering all of our technology. Okay, they're trying to destabilize our country. That's why they're trying to flood our country with all of these immigrants. All right. These guys are coming in, making little bands and robbing stores already. Because what else they going to do? They got to eat. They're coming into our country. They're unwelcome and they're undocumented. They're not going to get jobs. We're not going to offer them jobs. And all they're going to do, all they have to do is crime, right?
Hold on, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please finish, bro. Please finish.
I'm just saying the first bullet that is shot, hopefully not. I pray to God that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. The first bullet that is shot will start the second Civil War, and that will lead to World War III because it will destabilize the United States so much that who is going to come in with their little inferior manufactured weapons and try to take over.
Yeah. Well, I think that, China has a long-term effect. I'm not so much. China has a long-term. They're like a python. They want to wrap around slowly, and devour little countries like Jamaica. They want to surround us. Yes. And they think they can win like that. But what they don't realize, and what I've known about white people since I've been studying history or recent world history, is that white people always change the rules up when it favors them. So they could just change the whole banking system up and say, okay, we no longer owe you $30 trillion. In fact, you owe us $30 trillion. You see what I'm saying? Just by the swipe of a button. So I'm not even concerned about China. I mean, it's and there's nothing they can do about it. We can cut China off as a trade partner right now, and they're already go broke. They're already unstable. You guys really, China, they're this big bad dragon, but at the end of the day, they're really not. They're really more like a paper tiger. I'm just saying. Yeah, I just want y'all to really look at the internal issues that China's having. They got poverty. They got a group of people that are older, that are not working anymore and not as productive. They're not what you think they were. This is not 30 years ago when they were coming up. But again, it's the rule of law. They have dictators. We have the rule of law. Keep that in mind. My friend Latin Splaining with Denise Gonzalez, y'all go check her page out. She said, I won't touch Colombia with a 10-foot pole, but Dennis is right. Don't step out of Bogota unless you want to cook cocaine for the gorillas for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the same Medellin. Let me tell you, before I started traveling, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of studying. I traveled to different countries, Latin countries. I learned the language. I got a basic function, and I never went anywhere by myself. Whenever I went there, I once brought my Dominican girlfriend from Santo Domingo, and we met down in Medellin to hang out because at least she spoke Spanish, and it kept me out of trouble. You got to be careful. You got to move right, man. You just got to move right. But anyway, man, I want Vintage Negro, you had a question. What you want to jump in here and get?
This is general question. Like, with all these people coming over here, and I've studied Latin countries before, and I've noticed that when the black population gets to be under Latin people, black people start to lose jobs. They start to be disrespected.
Yeah.
They start and people could say what they want about white people, but at least white people have one that kind of equal. I think from what I've studied, and this is any Latin countries I've studied, they can't stand black people. Period.
They can't.
What I want to share with you all is this, and this is something that I've been developing. When you really study other races, and look, I know y'all hate white folk. I know, I get it. I understand. They did you wrong. I know. But at least you can appeal to their sense of justice.
Right.
That legal system that they had that came out of Great Britain, at least there was a sense of justice. They don't have that in places like Russia. You see what I'm saying? Remember, Russia was founded by the Vikings. Okay? Great Britain and the UK was founded by the English. Remember, they used to, the Vikings were considered savages. Remember, the Vikings used to come down and rape and pillage and all. Grape, I said grape juice. They used to come down and grape juice everybody. And then you got the Chinese. Look at the history of China, the $5,000 year history of China. Look at the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan. You know how many? He killed 1/3 of the people that were on the planet when he was alive. 1/3 of the people. Look, this man has descendants. Hell, anybody who is, some of y'all might have DNA from Genghis Khan in your blood. You understand? If you got any Asian in you, there's a good chance that you might have Genghis Khan DNA in you because he went through graping and pillaging everything. You see what I'm saying? Look at our African brothers. And I know we always romanticize Africa, but dog, it seemed to me like every 5.5 to 6 years, is some sort of slaughtering going on over there. It's black folk killing black folk. And this predates the onset of white folk. I look at the story of Shaka Zulu.
Yep.
Shaka Zulu was killing more black. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So at least you can appeal to white folks, the justice system there. And I know we don't like the justice system. We don't like the way it's administered, but theoretically, at least theoretically, it's supposed to be fair. It's the people in our justice system that aren't fair because they're prejudiced, and they don't, unfortunately, they don't leave their prejudice at the front door. But the fact that you have to be judged by 12 people of your peers, that sounds great. The fact that there has to be a judge who has no conflicts of interest, that sounds great. The fact that 12 people have to find you guilty of a criminal act before you could be sentenced, that sounds wonderful. The fact that people can't just run up and take your stuff because they say you owe it to them, you see what you got to actually have a trial, that sounds great. The fact that somebody can't just run up in your house with a gun and get you out of there because you was 3 days late on your rent, sounds great to me. You see what I'm saying? Theoretically, the American justice system, which is derived from the British legal system, is fundamentally it's the best system we have. You damn sure don't want to get tried in China or Russia. I can tell you that now, or the Philippines. we have something called cruel and unusual punishment. My God, I thought that's what we wanted to do to criminals. Be cruel and unusual without punishment to them. But you can't even do that here.
Right.
So just I think just understand what I'm saying. We need more lawyers. We need more people on the grounds who actually heavily involved in the system who can turn the screws. The reason why a lot of black people go to prison is because some of y'all don't even show up to jury trial. Why y'all don't come to jury? Y'all got them little jury trial notices and y'all ignore them just like I do, don't you? Tell the truth. Shame the devil. Don't lie to me. Man, Jamal says this has been one of the best informative podcasts to date. I appreciate this information. I definitely will be rewatching. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want China to take over America, and y'all damn sure don't want to go to Africa. Let me tell you that now. You know people in South Africa that look like y'all are called colored. They call y'all colored. You're not black and you're not Indian. They refer to you as colored. And when you go to South Africa, guess what? They treat the colored people are oftentimes the ones that's lowest on the totem pole because you're not black and you're not Indian. Black Americans, my foundational black American brothers, you don't have nowhere else to go. So you might as well buckle up and get, some of us
got no friends. We got no friends with each other.
Yeah. Some of us could go to overseas and hang out for a little while. You still a gringo. You still an American. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't have anywhere else to go. So the last thing you want is civil war to pop off here in the United States. Let me just tell you that. Get that fantasy out of your head. They don't want 45 million black folks coming back to Africa. And y'all don't want to go back to Africa. Y'all don't even want to go to the DR and take a cold shower. And that's an hour and a half off the coast. You understand what I'm saying? At least y'all look, don't stop lying to me. I know you better than you know yourselves. I know you. Y'all don't want to go there. Look, look at all these black folk who went to Africa and coming back. They don't want to go over there. They can't deal with the culture. It's different. You're Americanized. We've been here for 500 some years. You're not going anywhere. Best to go ahead and buckle down, draw a line in the sand, and claim your land and deal with it. You don't like the police system here? Go take your butt to Colombia. They'll snatch you up out your taxi cab so quick. And go to Mexico. I want you to go down to Mexico since you don't like the American police. I'm just saying. Go to, what's the name of that place they like to go to get pooped on? Where them girls go to get pooped on?
Dubai.
Poop Dubai. Go to Poop Dubai and tell me what you think about their justice system. They'll take that passport and have you sitting in that apartment for yelling too loud. I'm just saying. Let's just keep it 100. Hate me all you want to, baby. Let me put this on the big screen again. Hate me all you want to, but I'm going to tell you the truth. These are your options. We do not want this country to tear itself apart because don't nobody else want our black butts. Yeah. You understand? At least we have right to this country. All right? We have right to this country. That's my thoughts on it, man. So, yeah, a new civil war brewing, possible. We got a border standoff, Texas versus federal authority. It depends on how it's handled. I know Americans. We know Americans. We're very violent people. Once we get something set on our mind, we fight each other. We don't mind bloodshed. We don't. And that's why we had a rule of law. But the reason, our reputation, people say a lot of stuff about us, but who's the first person they call when some stuff pop off? You understand what I'm saying? Why is America stopping these Israelis and these Gazans from fighting each other? Why isn't America going to Africa and stopping these Africans from killing each other? Why isn't America going to in China stopping these Chinese from killing the Uyghurs? Why is that what they call? I don't know what it's called. Why are we going to Taiwan? They always call us and they want to put our young people in harm's way. You see what I'm saying? We ain't got nothing to do with it because we're the best fighters on the planet and we will. You see what I'm saying? So when we dealing with each other, recognize the only thing that keeps us off each other is the rule of law. And whether or not you like the Texas governor's practices or not, he has to abide by what the Supreme Court says, period. And if the Supreme Court says they can remove it, they can remove it. Now, that don't mean he can put some more stuff up there because he didn't say he couldn't reblock it after they come cut it down, but you got to abide by the rule of law. Other than that, fellas, man, big shout out to all the folks who came through. Devin, JJ, Vintage Negro, Glow Hardy.
Good
Always
seeing you, brother.
favorites up in here. Other than that, man, this is Uncle D. I love y'all, and I'm out.